live.
Before we start, I look like the hippo.
What?
So I can get a good shot of you.
What am I doing?
Can you move that this way just a little? I love this. This camera is so good.
Where am I going?
Just move it right over this way a little bit. Stop. The other way a little bit. A little bit more. Stop. That's good. And go back a little bit. Perfect. Right there. Oh yeah.
How about now?
That's actually of our third episode podcast. Hey, what is up? Welcome. Today we're going to talk about some things about the misconceptions of success, and we're going to use Steve Martin's life as an example, things he said, and things he's done. So that's what our show is going to be. This is the behind the scenes. We're just setting up the studio. We like to get people involved. If you have any questions on what we're talking about, anywhere, Twitch or any of the live programs, just ask in the things and we'll answer those questions live on the show today. I don't make this stuff up. With that said, I will set up the other cameras now. Oh yeah! Hey, mama, is that the way you move? Gonna shake that thing, move that groove. Everyone, but I don't know what I've been told. You should sneeze. And I shall bless you. This behind the scenes will show the entire podcast, but then we actually upload the podcast edited, so it's just the podcast and cleaned up, and there's a couple other things in there that wouldn't be in the live version, but the live version allows you to ask questions. So there's benefits to listening to the episode after it's actually published to watching it live as well. I don't know, but I am told. Hey, can you move that over this one?
Am I moving?
Just move that. Just yeah.
There we go. We fixed it.
Thank you, son.
You're welcome. Was ist das?
Was? Ist das gut, ja?
Das ist wunderbar. Let's see.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, we get the cards.
Yeah, we can't film if there's no memory cards. Oh, we got someone saying stuff. Yeah. Let's see. You are coming in loud and clear. Woohoo! We're coming in loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Oh, what do we got? Cool. I want to keep watching while I'm doing dishes and then listen to the end. Sounds good. We love having you here.
Woohoo!
Woo!
We also enjoy doing dishes. What does that mean? We can cook with clean power.
Oh, I do like doing dishes. Yeah. Turn.
I think you just like playing with the bubble.
Turn the beat around. Turning the beat around.
Doing a test run.
Oh, look at
So
that.
I'm talking to the microphone and see what happens.
That feels like. Over here. Oh yeah. Get out.
Pick up, talk.
See, I got you. Oh, hello.
Here, do a test run.
All right, let's do a test run. Did you change something?
Yeah.
What'd you change?
Changed the preset
Why?
just to see what it would sound like.
Okay.
But it sounds like there's clicking.
There's
Oh, we
always.
have someone watching on the Facebook.
Oh, hello, Facebook. Go ahead.
Right.
All right.
Let's see what it sounds like.
I
Ready?
love it. Yeah. Oh, that sounds. Look at that.
Oh, hi. Here, I'll go sit.
Please.
I'm sitting in. Ooh, look, there's people over here. Hey, look. Oh, McDonald's.
Let's see. Okay.
Cool. Hit that part.
Woo! Yeah.
I feel like I want tea.
I want tea.
I'll make tea.
You want tea? I'll take some tea.
Serenity.
Serenity! Serenity now.
Serenity.
Long ass hair.
Why do you have long ass hair?
I don't know. It just shows up.
I feel like that would get messy when you go to the bathroom. Do 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 do. Scooby doo 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 doo. And I'm back again, over here.
Don't you forget about me.
You know we need BBR shirts,
We have BBR shirts.
but like fancy
We're
Christmas
wearing
sweater shirts.
Oh yeah, that's what we do. We definitely need that. All right, there we go. Now I feel a little bit more.
It's like that, right?
No. The other way. No, the other way.
Which way?
Oh, too far. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. Oh, too much. Literally, when I said perfect. Look how perfect that looks. It's perfect. It's perfect. Get away from the camera. Imperial.
If I lick it, will it make it work better?
If you could just lick it. Hey, babe.
Does the camera taste like candy?
Can I eat the dogs? Like, can I eat the camera?
Dad.
Alright,
What are you doing, Dad? Dad.
Let's get started here. Let's
Let's-
do this.
It's got to be a way to like.
Here, come here, baby.
Did he move the camera again?
That's fine.
Oh, we can get both of us in here.
There is.
Yeah.
You can just put it over there.
Yeah, but then we can't respond to any questions because neither of us has eyeballs that good.
Well, the good news is connecting. Look at that. We are live.
Don't. No, it's not gonna turn on me.
All right, we'll just go this one. All right, we'll just do what we did last time.
All right, so I'll control the.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, welcome. This is the behind the scenes of episode 3 of I Don't Make This Stuff Up, the podcast that we film every Sunday, and then we post the edited, cleaned up with some extra stuff on it on Thursdays. Friday for lazy.
And we spice it up with some paprika as well.
I love paprika. Now, the benefit of watching the behind the scenes is, we'll say this to the audience that's watching at home, ultimately you get to ask us questions while we do the show, where we talk about the topics. And then obviously when you watch the remake of the edited version that's put up, there's some other special little things in there, as the shows grow, stuff like that. Things you won't necessarily hear.
Well,
Anyway, so you ready?
waiting for
Oh,
tea.
waiting for tea.
We are waiting for tea.
When's tea gonna get here?
I mean, technically it's already here.
Tea is here.
Tea is here.
I'm here.
Tea, Mr. T.
What's up?
E.
Anyway, so today's subject, just before we get into the actual show, so the live audience knows, is we're going to be talking about misconceptions in the industry to be successful in the entertainment industry. We're going to use Steve Martin's literal words and successes and failures as examples. So if you're an entertainer in the industry and you would like to ask a question about that industry and your how to be successful or where you're having struggles, and especially if you hear us talking about certain things that click a nerve, please let us know. That's what we want to know. We want to know. We want to know. We want to know. Anyway, I love you all. Woo! Yeah, so we've been doing this. This is our 3rd week in a row. We just started getting back into it. The podcast is I Don't Make This Stuff Up. Again, you can find everything on BBR Productions. It's the thing. Not a lot of people don't know that. You need to have a central hub. You need to have people go to your website. Social media is great for your adventure, but you should always be marketing people to go to your website. Your website's where all the data and dumping is. Whereas social media, you don't want to push your audience away until you have 10,000 true fans. Those are not followers. Those are true fans, people that are willing to buy your stuff. So your website is basically designed to say, hey, by the way, this is what's going on. And people are making emotional choices to go to your website, therefore they're psychologically more inclined to interact and purchase or react to your stuff. Though you can push the hell out of your life and you get a reaction out of it, because there's always the rule of numbers where if you push it enough, that's the thing that boosting does. People think, oh well, I'm getting a huge, what is that noise? Sometimes when people do things, sometimes when people do a boost on their social posts, like Facebook or wherever, they're like, oh, I'm getting a huge response, huge return on my investment. But when you stop spending money on that boost, what happens is it stops. It just dies out, and that's it. And the thing is, you're trying to build what we call organic growth, because organic growth will lead to consistency of people interacting with you. Whereas if you focus solely on boosting every once in a while, you're not going to get the consistency or the repetition from that audience because you're losing it. It's the same thing with pushing. When you just post, check this out, you're going to get a lot of activity from it, but eventually, whoa, hello? Oh, it even shut off. What's going on? Anyway, eventually what will happen is if you're pushing something like, hey, subscribe, or do whatever, when you stop doing that, you're going to lose the activity and the traction. So your job to build that kind of activity is to create an organic growth in your social media, into your website. Now, how do you do that? Well, that comes down to SEO, keywords. You're trying to get into the world of solving a problem. Acting or doing music or comedy or writing is the same thing as owning a donut shop. The donut shop is trying to solve a problem. The problem is to have food for people that want a donut, not necessarily the whole of the donut. That's Dunkin' Donuts' job. All right, that's branding. But you as a performer, what are you solving? What is the thing you're solving? It creates a need or necessity, a commodity, the supply and demand to go to your website. Anyway, with that said.
All right, I think I saw that weird clicking noise problem.
What do you think it was? What do you think?
I don't know.
It's not my note, right?
I think it might be something to do with your mic.
What do you mean? I'm not touching it.
I know you're
No.
not. No? I thought it had something to do with fan power. Maybe it's not.
Is the phantom power on?
It is.
No, so you have nothing to worry about. We are all in sales. That's correct. We are absolutely all in sales. I agree with that 100%. You're always trying to sell yourself in one way or another. But you're selling a brand message. You're trying to, basically marketing comes down to designing a brand to build awareness, which creates interest that ultimately generates sales so people buy into your brand's message. So everything you do must affect everything you do. So whenever you create a post or a product or anything, it should represent something about your brand's message, because the consistency of your audience seeing that check mark or just do it reminds you of Nike. Doing the gold, maybe put your phone a little further away on a thing.
I mean, you can try.
I think because that's definitely, I feel
Let me try.
that's what's going on, I'll be honest.
We're going to put you
Oh, look at that.
over now.
Oh my god.
Over now.
Look at that.
Now you can see both of us.
Can you? It's not in the way.
No.
Boom. All right. If it happens again, then I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. All right.
All right.
Okay, so let's do it. Let's just start. We're going to start the show now. So here it goes. Hey, you're listening to I Don't Make This Stuff Up with JD McGibney and Thomas J. Bellezza. Today, our episode is going to be focusing on the quote, "Be so good, they can't ignore you," which is a famous quote from Steve Martin, who inevitably did not utilize that theory to become successful. And we're going to break down a lot of what he said versus what actually happened. A lot of our information is coming from his
autobiography
called Born Standing Up. And also, of course, if you haven't heard that autobiography either through the audiobook or read it, it's an amazing read. There's a lot of great information in there. And if you're listening to it, somebody who wants to be successful in the entertainment industry, listen between the lines of his context. Because the truth of the matter is, what he's saying is not necessarily what the truth is. He believes it. That's what makes it true. That he did A, B, and C, and that's why people cared. But ultimately, what was coming out of his effort turned out to be the things we talk about here, which is the triangle of life, the 3 needs of success, 3 needs of longevity, 3 needs of purpose, assets, and treating your life like a business.
And I think like the Steve Martin process is a really good example of what a lot of artists, go through. Like a lot of them don't quite understand the actual process and why they've reached success.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. There's definitely, in this industry, there are, I would say, a greater deal of successful people in the industry aren't necessarily aware of what it takes to get there as far as like what was the process, but they're doing the right things. And that also causes misconception because, again, let's just use Metallica. It's just a quick example. Metallica as a band, bands will look at Metallica and go, if we tour, if we make an album, if we play shows, if we have merchandise, we'll make money. But what they don't realize is all those things are a reward to the audience, the 10,000 true fans that they have gained by marketing, networking, building their brand in a sense where they practice and know what they're doing. They're a honed skill. But on top of that, they hone the business. They learned the business. In fact, they just recently got their catalog back, which means when they first started out.
Because they never owned the original masters.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's just an example of not understanding your business. And that means they were not making good money just off of their masters because they didn't own the rights. Just like when Michael Jackson bought the Beatles' rights and then eventually sold it back to, I believe, Sony, if I remember correctly. But that I would have to check that to make sure. But my point is, Metallica, the monster of a business in the music industry, doesn't necessarily contribute to what we're talking about in the sense they didn't know the business and they had to learn it. And when they eventually learned it, they fought to get the rights back to their masters. And that's the thing. They did a lot of great things to become successful and the things that led to their success, which we could do that on another show. I'm just using it as an example. But again, they didn't really know the system as they were learning it. And they still were successful because they were doing things just subconsciously that really worked for them.
Like the biggest thing that they did when they first started out was they were building relationships.
Well, they were building relationships, but more importantly, they were building their brand value. They were known as the hangout band. They were known as the band that would make you feel like you were part of more than just a show. Even if they weren't playing a show, they came and hung out with you, and you just wanted to be with them. You wanted to hang out with them. You wanted to experience them. And that just led to whenever they were doing a show, they're like, oh man, my buddies are playing a show. Meanwhile, they weren't really friends.
It was like, oh, you like hanging out with people.
Yeah, but in their mind, they're like, my buddy, they didn't release an album until the album was worth releasing. But that's a whole other story. Today is about Steve Martin and his journey. And who was never in Metallica, though he is in a band, he plays a banjo. In fact, his whole dream was to be a magician, and he eventually became a comedian. Is there an application for actors that directly correspond to a musician owning their masters? Yes. Your actual commodity is an IP. Your likeness, who you are and everything you stand for, your face and the value of what you bring to it is technically licensed.
There's actually a sidestep of an interesting case with Crispin Glover in Back to the Future 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah.
Was it Universal?
Yeah.
For basically recasting it, like having someone else go in with like the prosthetics and all that to play him.
Yeah, and that actually created a rule in the union that you can't do that. And that's why there's another thing, what's it called? Fake where they do like an actor and then like their face changes.
Deep fake.
Deep fake. After union is fighting to make sure use that without the permission of the performer. So yeah, to answer your question, owning your rights to who you are is the same as owning your masters as a musician for actors out there. Though your job as an actor should be to elevate yourself to the most power so you can open doors for others. And so an example is Metallica eventually turned themselves into a business, created their own record label, and now they own and create everything on their own. You as an actress or an actor should be working to create a production company, which in turn allows you to be in control and own your stuff. Bradley Cooper is a really great example of how he eventually owns his production company. And then, I don't know if he still has it, but I know he had it for at least 4 years. I believe it was with Paramount. I might be wrong with that, but he did have a first look deal with the studio. His production company had a first look deal, which basically meant any project that came in, his company could look at that project and say yay or nay, and then film and produce it.
Yeah, same thing with Bryan Cranston and
Bryan-
AMC. It's how they ended up doing Breaking Bad. And,
No. Breaking Bad was actually
or did that come out because
Chris Parnell helped with Breaking Bad from Sony. I don't know the other.
Oh, yeah.
But he did another show that was because of the first look, and the show was he basically has a small part in it. He he's like the villainous kind of character, but he's not a main character in it. But you're right, Bryan Cranston did help with show.
Was it Better Call Saul?
No, Better Call Saul isn't.
Listen, I have.
Aspetta, chi fa? Aspetta
To be fair, I have not seen Breaking Bad.
That's
or Better Call Saul.
You know, I'm learning a lot about you. There's movies you don't watch and shows you don't watch that you should be watching, like their religion. But anyway.
Sorry, I went to the whole play guitar instead.
Listen, look, I'm a musician first, but I still watch great stuff. But that's neither here nor there. But let's get back to, be so good they can't ignore you. That mentality is what artists hear. Now, on this show, we talk a lot about our successes. Oh, there it is again. I don't know what it is. Oh, something happened with your phone. I'll tell this then. So, your connection is unstable. Please wait while we try to reconnect. I don't know what that's going on. You know what? I'm going to change my internet service so it's better on the Facebook. Let's go to ICP. There you go. Connected. All right. My point is, all right, so be so good they can't ignore you. What this does to the artist brain, and here on this show, I don't make this stuff up, is ultimately, can we have the naked girl painting? Yeah, you can have the naked girl painting, please. It's actually a famous piece of art that is now just a poster that I put into a frame. Anyway, so here on I Don't Make This Stuff Up is what we ultimately talk about is business brain and artist brain. Artist brain is knowing what you want and allowing your passion to drive you, but not necessarily understanding the business and just hoping that your hard work will lead to success. Whereas we talk about taking on the business brain and allowing yourself to direct your career with focus. Now, we believe deeply in the show that artist brain should be on when you're creating, developing, or even getting the reward to do what it is you do. But outside of that, you should allow your business brain to help build your career. With that said, is ultimately telling the artist, yeah, just work on your craft. Just be the best actor, be the best comedian, be the best musician, be the best this, best that. To debunk that theory, it's easy as saying, have you ever watched YouTube and saw somebody in Spain playing guitar?
Yeah, street performers. If you just go to like Santa Monica, there's those amazing street performers that are like virtuosos. Yet they're just sitting there playing, in the
streets. And in reality, how far can you go with that? And there's nothing wrong with being great at your craft. In fact, I implore you to always be working on increasing it. In fact, there are many people in this industry that still, even in the acting world and the high levels, that hire coaches, from dialect coaches to acting coaches to help them with parts. There's nothing wrong with always honing your skill, but your craft, your thing you do, because we say your job that helps people reward you for your success and therefore get paid to do what you do. And the artist brain hears, well, just be so good, they can't ignore me. They stop working on the business end as if, well, as long as I'm working, if I'm acting or if I'm playing a show, I'm going to get there.
There's also something that I have philosophically that bothers me about that statement, and it's the fact that if you're saying be so good they can't ignore you, it's saying that you have to reach a certain level, you have to reach a certain point, you have to reach a certain style, you have to be a certain way or
skill.
Period. Any of whatever your art is for it to matter, and that it bothers me because that in my mind translates to only certain people are able to achieve success because you have to be so good that they can't ignore you. And it's that says that certain people are more valid than others when it comes to creating art. That philosophically bothers me.
Yeah, and it's also debunked in the sense of if it was only the great people, then why can you watch a movie, listen to a comic, listen to music or whatever, or read a book and say, how did this crap ever get to the top? It's terrible. And so, the idea that be so good they can't ignore you, it's not that. It's network market practice. It's manage your time, money, and people. It's utilizing your entrepreneurial brain to find solutions, think outside the box, and proactive effort. It's utilizing talent, not just in but the talent of understanding the business so you can own your masters. So you could have total control over your identity, your IPs, your intellectual property.
Which is, again, something else that, you don't really get taught right out the gate when you're first starting out. It's the fact that you have a power, you have strength, you have leverage by having these IPs, by being you, by being yourself, being, the artist that you are. And then speaking in the world of bands, a lot of bands get, screwed over because they sign away the rights to their music for, the next 300 years.
Well, because they just, the upfront,
Like, oh, yay, $5,000.
Yeah, but they might get 500,000. But the thing is, they're never going to see another cent until that 500,000's recouped. But the problem is, every time they're spending money on that band to get that band big and famous, you're spending more money you're never going to see. So, but what happens is a band gets that money and they spend it frivolously, going, "Oh, this is crazy. We just got paid."
I got 14 new Corvettes.
Which comes down to money management. In fact, there are NBA players. Historical stories of athletes getting millions upon millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to play. Then they get hurt and they're broke because they took that money and they just spent it. They didn't know how to manage their money. They didn't know how to develop
Will
wealth.
Smith, I think, is another great example.
Oh, Will.
He, unlike.
So Quincy Jones. But what happened with Will Smith's story, which I think is a good thing you brought up, is Will Smith, he released his first album. Get the dog. You alright over there, pup? Will Smith released his first album, Parents Just Don't Understand, and it blew up. It just blew up. And he made a lot of money, but he kept spending the money. He was hiring his family and friends to work for him. He was just spending the money, And then he was broke. And then his next album came out, and he wasn't really making the money. So he literally was on the bus, broke, poor, owing money because he...
To the IRS.
Yeah, because he didn't pay his taxes correctly, which get a good accountant. And somebody next to him was like, "Man, you're the greatest, sign this." And he signed it, and the guy he's signing for has more money than Will Smith had. And it wasn't until Quincy Jones took him aside and was like, "Listen, you gotta be smart about this, so I'm gonna introduce you to some good people." And that's important though, because just being the greatest actor, or the greatest musician, or a comedic performer, whatever the deal is, isn't necessarily gonna help you have longevity. That's why the 3 needs of longevity include management of money, time, and the people in your life. So getting back to Steve Martin, let's talk about that. Steve Martin has said, "Be so good they can't ignore you." And one prime example, and then we'll really dive into this, of Steve Martin's success comes with his first chance as a writer. And what happened was he had dated a woman way back in his youth, and they maintained a friendship. This is networking, okay? Building and cultivating relationships. So even though the word networking is scary, what it really is building and cultivating relationships, putting time into people, putting value into people, not having people put time into you. It's the other way around. It's that you putting time.
And it's genuine.
It's genuine, yeah.
Genuine relationship we're talking about. But I think that's what gives people that bad taste. They hear the word networking, they're just like, "Oh, it's a shallow, whatever, this person's just trying to get something from me." Networking, for the record, is like you're just connecting with people with a genuine relationship.
Yeah, you're literally genuinely building and cultivating relationships. But more importantly, that's true with Steve Martin, is he was just friends with her. They dated, and that was it. It wasn't like he was using her for anything. They weren't even in the same world. She was a dancer, and they were just friends. What happened with the Smothers Brothers show is she said, "Let me submit yourself to get you on as a writer." And the Smothers Brothers and the producers were like, "This is horrible. We don't want it. We're not interested." She was dating the head writer. So that's how she got the stuff into the show in the first place. The head writer loved her so much and believed in Steve Martin that he paid Steve Martin out of his own pocket to have Steve Martin submit work. And then they just submitted the work. After a while, they were like, "These are really good skits. Who's writing these?" And they said, "The guy you said you weren't interested in, Steve Martin." So they brought Steve Martin in, and ultimately he won an Emmy. And he also was his first appearance on screen was through the Smothers Brothers. So that's an example that had nothing to do with his talent, because his talent literally threw him out the door. But it was his relationship with a woman or a person that had a really good relationship with the head writer that led to that belief in Steve Martin. And the reason was because Steve Martin's relationship with the girl got 50% delivered to the head writer. So if the head writer, Steve Martin, because of his relationship with the woman, So you have to think of your relationships like that. The stronger your relationships are with people.
That's two lessons right there. That's networking and circle of influence.
Well, circle of influence is within the networking sphere of tools. But the other aspect is the branding. The marketing aspect was who Steve Martin is, his value as a person that was imprinted on the person he dated, and the value of her relationship with the head writer and how they felt about each other is what, you meet someone and that feeling, that impression you get, that's marketing.
And also the fact that like when they first, when the producers first saw the stuff, they were like, who the hell's Steve Martin? And they said that, hey, we don't like this at all.
Watch this, boom.
What do we do?
I can switch the phone around. I don't have to move it. So now it's on you, see? Look at that, it takes 2 seconds. All right, go ahead.
But right there, like when they had no idea who he was, and they saw the material, they're like, oh, this is crap, I don't like it.
Yeah.
But then they got introduced to it after it was introduced to them through somebody else that they already had, brand value in their mind.
Correct.
Like, oh, this is great. But it was literally the same stuff.
Yeah,
That's this right there shows the power of brand and not just your quote unquote artistic integrity.
is there such thing as artistic integrity? Well, let me tell you something. Let's go back a little bit. That's really good. Yeah, let's. Is it 1885 or 1990? So Steve Martin started out. I always talk about it. If you want to be successful in your career, you should be working within your field of interest. That's something I will always stand by. If you need a survival job, make sure that job is within your field of interest. If it's not, you're literally killing your career. You're waiting for that big break. It's better to make efforts and be proactive. So, with that said, Steve Martin wanted to be a magician. So where did he work? At Disney World, at a magic shop, with somebody that was a retired, famous magician who now worked at the magic shop. Okay, back in the vaudeville days and stuff like that, this guy was really good. And this is in his book. So I'm leaving some stuff out, some vagueness, so you can go and read Steve Martin's book, Born Standing Up. It's a great read. It's insightful.
We're great listening for doing audiobooks.
Yeah. I read it through the audiobook because,
Right with your ears.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta just listen to this. So anyway, he worked at a magic shop. In fact, his famous arrow through the head was this magician's gag. It was one of his gags, and he gave it to Steve Martin.
Oh, wow.
So Steve Martin, one of his most memorable images of the arrow through his head on stage wearing that white suit would not be here if he didn't have that relationship of building with that mentor who was teaching him things, and not just about magic. He was teaching him about standing out, that it wasn't just how good are you as a magician, you have to stand out. With that said, why Steve Martin wore a white suit was because no one else was wearing a white suit. And he wanted to stand out. If you were at a club or a theater, he wanted to stand out in the darkness of the theater in a white suit.
That definitely works.
But it's branding. He was known for the arrow. He was known for the suit. All these things is marketing and networking. And he also practices craft. He was able to do what he did to get where he was. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. But what are your feelings on that, Jay?
I'm pretty sure those are like prime examples of everything that you're saying. It's not about just being good at your craft. It's about putting your personality into it, which Steve Martin very much, puts his personality into everything.
Who? No.
Who's that guy?
Who's Steve Martin?
Greg something?
Greg who?
No, it's literally his rise to success from, when he first started out to now. It literally is a roadmap of everything that, we go over here in BBR.
Yeah, you're right. And look, I don't make this stuff up. We say it all the time, and that's why we named the show. This is literally stuff that is going on. This is just one example of Steve Martin. We're obviously going to use other examples as the show goes on, but moving forward with Steve Martin, there was a couple things that happened with him. He made a friendship with a touring comedian. And Steve Martin says it multiple times in the book leading up to this chapter and beyond. He says, I didn't think I was very good. I never felt I was good enough to be on stage. I always felt I was terrible. And one of my friends, he had it was a long gig. It was a ridiculous amount of money. Like, it was over a couple $1,000s. And his friend reached out and said, hey, listen, I broke my leg. I can't do this gig. You should do it. Steve Martin didn't have to audition for it or anything. And Steve goes, all right, I'm not, I don't think I'm not as good as you. He's like, you're fine. Trust me. Just do the show. So Steve Martin didn't even believe he was good enough so you can't be ignored. And he got the gig through a relationship. He went up there. The guy let him have all the money. He was like, no, you're doing the show. You get paid. Opportunities in this business do not come because you're good.
Because of relationships.
It's because your relationships are good.
Well, you yourself personally, how many times have you had to quote unquote audition for something and gotten the gig, as opposed to like, oh, Thomas, you want this gig?
Let's see. I auditioned once for a theater project, and then I had a year worth of work with that theater company. I auditioned once for a band, and then the person who suggested I be in the band yelled at the band because they dared to audition me. They were like, you don't audition him. You give him the gig or you don't give him the gig. He doesn't have to be doing this, and he should be the one doing this. Which I didn't say.
He was like,
but
I snacks, I'm good.
Yeah. I didn't care that they made me audition, but to have someone talk to me and then make me audition. And the funny thing is, for that gig, I went in, they said to practice 3 songs. And I went in with a 6-string bass, by the way. And
I think another story.
Yeah. So I did the songs, whatever, and they're like, oh, they're really good. They're like, I wish you had, like, we told you to learn more songs. And I was like, just play the songs. And they're like, are you sure? I was like, fine. It's 1/6. It's 1/3/6. It's 1/3/5. 1/3/6. I know the songs. And they're like, all right, but they weren't, they had rhythms and stops and changes.
Yeah.
And I played like 5 more songs, and they're like, how do you know these songs? I was like, I'm a musician. You're either going to go up or down.
Also, to be fair, when you're writing your own music, it's kind of.
Well, I write scores. I write
No, you write puzzles.
Touche.
To be fair, learning your music was probably the most difficult thing I've ever had to do. So after learning the music we did, I can literally learn anything. People can be like, "Oh, it's going to be difficult." I'm like, whatever it is, I got it.
That's funny. Well, you know what? Because your ear is listening. Look, there's a lot going on in my music. But I write.
Understatement.
Look, it is what it is. 30-something years, but Mazel tov. Her big thing was like, you have to have a reel, you have to have headshots, you have all this stuff. And she was always trying to get me to audition for things. And, I would get them once in a while. But then I would start getting booked on stuff that I would just know people. And she's like, how are you getting these gigs? I'm building relationships. If I know someone is casting, I ignore the thing they're casting, work on building the relationship, and then the next time they're casting something, they come to me. And that's how actors should be thinking.
Also got into SAG without even having a reel.
Well, it's not that I didn't have a reel. I didn't have waivers. So I basically learned the business, and I found a loophole. You can kind of still do this nowadays, but it's a little harder. But you basically get a new media project going. And the new media project is basically for YouTube only, or just, you can't use it to do like festivals or anything. But anyway, so you do a new media project, you can get what's known as a Taft-Hartley. And the Taft-Hartley makes it so you can automatically be eligible. So I decided to be a quote-unquote professional actor. 6 months later, I was in SAG. It's that easy. So, and then what I wanted to do is I really wanted to get into the industry. So I became friends with everybody in the union that I could get friends with. I went to all the speaking engagements, anything I could do to get involved with my industry, I did. And I became really close friends with the president at that time, Mike Hodge. God rest his soul. He obviously passed away a couple of years ago. Really great guy. But he took me under his wing. He was really nice to me. He let me run with him when he ran for to re-election. I got to run with his party, the USAN, which they stand proud and tall. They're still doing what they're doing today.
All without any waivers.
Oh, yeah, without any. But I wasn't really filming a lot of stuff, but I was being involved. And I got to meet so many people in the industry. And all it came down to was ultimately just building my friendships. And I still have some really great friends with people, even to this day. And it had nothing to do with me acting. It was just me getting involved. And, and that's what happened with Steve Martin. He worked with this theater for a long time. He talks about it in the book. And nothing came out of it, really. He was just working because he wanted to hone his craft. He just wanted to become great. But it was from some of the relationships from that theater years later that led to opportunities. And it had nothing to do with him being the greatest performer in the world. Eventually, he started becoming his own producer and own creator. So he made Jerk, which is an amazing movie. He got involved with the Three Amigos, which, by the way, was how he met Martin Short. That's when they
besties.
Now you can't separate those two, but they're like extreme best friends. By the way, is an example of using that. Hey, be so good they can't ignore you. No, he just worked with a team of people, and they all started getting plucked for Second City, and then from Second City getting plucked to Saturday Night Live because everyone's like, no, you should hire them, you should cast them, you should do this, you should do that.
Part of the group.
Which is part of the group. And a majority of people who get booked to work on SNL is usually through an introduction. Somebody says, you should work with them. And then you come in, you have to do it's really
an audition, quote unquote.
Yeah, it's a formality at that point.
Yeah, because at that point, if like Lorne Michaels is like, you're getting recommended to me, you have to be, decent.
Yeah, there's I think it's Bill Hader. I love Bill Hader. Bill Hader always had this fear that he'd be fired because he was no good. And again, artist brain. You think it's about how good you are, but it's not. It's like, are you liked? Are you loved? Is your brand respectable? Are you working hard? If you're working hard and still not good, you're still.
Are you making sure that the entire team is able to progress forward?
Yeah, that's all I care about. Anyway,
if you're just sitting there eating all the crap.
Which Saturday Night Live has some of the best crap. I like to put that up too. They have sherbets and ice cream. Anyway,
What?
Yeah. Background doesn't necessarily do all that good stuff. But anyway, background gets wrapped sandwiches and apples. And
apple a day keeps
keeps me dead.
Well, sure. You can't have it.
I can't have apples.
I'll eat your apples.
You eat the apples, and not because I don't like apples.
They will literally kill you.
Yeah, I'm definitely allergic. You're the apple of my eye. That's why you kill me every time I talk to you. But no. So Bill Hader, he always had this fear that he was going to lose his job. And one day, Lorne Michaels calls him into his office. He was telling a story on a talk show, which again is brand building. It's letting people hear who you are and be a part of your journey, your emotional journey. So he's telling the story. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to be on Saturday Night Live. You should check me out. No, he was advertising for Barry, the really great show, by the way. And he wasn't talking about Barry. He was talking about SNL. And he says, I was scared I was going to get fired. And Lorne Michaels calls me in.
Between the Barry to me back in the 70s.
What about union background?
Whoa.
Well, what's your question? That seems like a broad blanket statement. What about union background? I mean, I can tell you a lot about union background since I'm pro-union.
Hence running for the union.
Hence running for the union. And but I'm not pro attitude. There are certain people in the business, in all factions of any industry of entertainment, where
or just
an actor can be
general.
People in general, but we're talking about entertainment, where they think they deserve more than they actually have, or they might get one opportunity where they have an under 5 and they're like, I am the best. And now you
For the rest of us, we're not actors.
Yeah,
It wasn't under 5.
Under 5 is ultimately when you're getting basically less than 5 lines. Sometimes you get a scene and that'd be considered an under 5. But here we go. Sorry, when we're talking about the raps, does union background get the shebang? Sorry, it was a really silly question. That's a funny question, and the answer is yes. Do they get sherbet? Do they get the sherbet, or do they get raps? Union for SNL, and they're actually they're signed to they're grandfathered into a old contract, so you get less pay than the updated version, because they only use union. Whereas if you do a television show or a movie, I don't know the exact numbers because it changes every couple of years, but the last numbers I remembered was basically if you did a movie, it was like the first 36 have to be union, and then after that it's non-union. And I think for TV it's less, but that might obviously be different now. But it is a percentage. So when people say, "Oh, union playing music,"
Wah, wah, wah.
no, I'm just kidding. I've never seen it.
But it just seems like there's a misunderstanding where people think that they have to just do background in order to solely move the ranks, and that they'll just get noticed, which goes back to who's so good they can't ignore you. There's like people focus, maybe I just walk that guy or that chick.
Did you see that waiter behind Brad Pitt? Let's get them.
Yeah, it's just like I don't think enough people focus on the network building, on the relationship building, which is really what the key is. Going back to Steve Martin, where he's he has that mentality where we have to be so good they can't ignore you, and didn't realize that it was his relationships with people that got him the opportunities. Where people who are say doing background, they focus on let me just keep doing background instead of just let me go to a networking event. Let me make friends with people who are like in the industry instead of just let me just go to a set and then read my book in the corner.
That aggravates me.
We're not going to lunch yet. Why are we staying late? That always bothers me. Anyone, if you're on set and they go overtime, one, it almost always goes overtime.
Yeah.
So you should expect it. But two, if you don't want to be there, why are you there? Like, if
you go pack out groceries.
Yeah, it's just like if you're going to complain, like why would you do it? Like,
don't get me wrong, standing around is, sitting around can get boring, but you're getting paid to do nothing.
But you're not getting paid to do nothing. You're getting paid to hang out and meet people and build relationships.
Well, that's what I mean, though. Like, you're doing no work. You're not working.
But technically, that is part of your job.
Your job is the network marketing practice. Your job is not that. But the other thing is they're not practicing how to, they're not practicing here and there. That's a chance for you to literally say to yourself, what's my motivation? And you're practicing a skill that you don't get to practice on film to build your confidence to be on screen. And they just go, well, I'll just walk and I'll just peas and carrots, right? So if you're in the acting business, you'll know what that means. That's for you kids. But
my motivation is always I really have to
that. You know what's funny? Mine is not that. No. So that's funny.
That guy just looks so serious. What's going on? It's so bad.
But going back to your other thing you were saying, where if you're on set doing background and getting paid to be in your field of interest, and you have headphones on and you're reading a book, and you're sitting in the back and you basically have the F off stamped on your face, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, I don't understand that aspect of it.
Yeah, because I was talking about this the other day when I was doing a speaking engagement, where basically people are hoping they can work with the next Robert De Niro or the next Marlon Brando, but they don't realize when you take an acting class or if you're doing background, because
you're probably right next to that person.
You're next to the next Robert De Niro, the next Clint Eastwood, who started in background.
Harrison Ford.
Background.
Which is funny because if I remember the story correctly, there was already a Harrison Ford who had signed up with Central Casting, whatever it was. So when he collected his checks, he had to be it's like Harrison, whatever his middle initial was, Ford.
Oh, that's funny. That's really funny.
Yeah.
Well, he wanted to be in acting, but he was a carpenter, and there's a whole. I could go on for that out.
Yeah, he just got his opportunities because basically he was friends with George Lucas, if I'm not mistaken.
And
if I remember correctly,
it was actually Steven Spielberg really pushed it.
But if I remember correctly, I think the Chevy that he was driving in American Graffiti was his. Am I correct?
No, that was George Lucas's show.
That was?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was beautiful. But going back, back to background. That's the thing. You are potentially next to the next Robert De Niro, the next Marlon Brando, but they just haven't had 10 years in the industry. And if you're making relationships with these people, you're going to be the Al Pacino and Robert De Niro's hanging out. You're going to be the Robert De Niro's, Al Pacino's, and Marlon Brando's hanging out. You're the Scorsese. You're next to the next great filmmakers. Same thing with music. You want to hang out with Metallica, they're not interested in you. You have no value here. But if you're hanging out with other bands and building those relationships on your level, and you're helping each other rise and grow, you're going to be the next.
Almost out of music by this point, but there was the whole New England metalcore thing in the early 2000s where you had Killswitch Engage.
Oh, I was in the music until 2007.
Yeah, but you were pretty much on your way out at that point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so you had bands like Killswitch Engage, All That Remains, Unearth, Shadow's Fall.
Who?
They're all from the same area, and they basically all
They all help each other.
yeah, and a lot of the members, from some of the bands like alternated when they were like first forming, but like they worked together to build this conglomerate. They worked together as a team of bands to basically come up together, and they all rose together.
Well, that's the way to do it. If you can keep the mentality of work together, grow together, rise together, you'll understand the team rise together mentality. And the same thing with Steve Martin. He growing his career, going back to him, he works with a lot of the same people. He works with a lot of the same writers, a lot of the same producers, directors. He's obviously been touring a couple projects together, from Parent Trap to Three Amigos and so forth and so on. And the idea, people have this arrogance. One second. Somebody come. So if you're in the entertainment industry and you have this arrogance on your way down, because Marlon Brando definitely went down. He had to have people really fighting for him, like Francis Ford Coppola. So to get him in Godfather, they fought and fought and fought, and they had to work on the pay of it and everything. But the idea that you deserve to be working with the top people, and then when you get there, you get one line, or you get to play one song, or you get to whatever, you do a solo. You're nobody. And you need to understand that you're nobody, but you're equal with everybody, and you should be building relationships with somebody as low as the person working the board, to the person directing the song, to the whatever the case may be, in any entertainment
We're all
industry.
people, and that's really
Not all of us.
I mean, we won't let everyone know that you're like half cyborg, half lizard.
I'm a lizard person.
No, it comes down to just being a basic good human being, where everyone is a human. Everyone is equal. Like no one's better or worse than anyone else.
Yeah. There's some people that I wouldn't work with again, but that has nothing to do with the fact that they have.
That has no value.
Four toes.
That has no. Yeah.
No, but you're right.
That's based on their actions and not whether or not they're worthy or not to be a human being.
But yeah, no, so ultimately what I'm saying is, your job really on set is not to be. Well, actually, I want to go back to something you were saying about background. You were saying, like they'll just try to get in front of the screen and think, oh, I'm going to get noticed. But in reality, if you're on screen, they can't use you again for 6 months. Background actors, if you're seen on screen, like visually, like there they are, they can't use you for 6 months because they have to rotate you out of being seen. So whenever I worked background back in the day, they'd be like, do you want to be here? And I'm like, no. They're like, put me anywhere but near the camera, And they'd be like, oh, okay. Because the less I was on camera, the more I could work on the show.
And the more opportunity you had to build relationships with the people that were, working on those productions.
Oh yeah, I made friends with everyone from PAs to the AD. One of my good friends is an AD. From Person of Interest and a couple other shows. All the Marvel shows. He was the AD. They're all. But the idea was, when I was on set, my job was not to be seen on camera. My job was to build relationships so that I could create opportunities. In fact, Circle came from background work. To get the opportunities that I was getting for the Circle that led to, before I got the cancer, all those opportunities were from background jobs or background opportunities, like people who were doing. To think that I have to be so good they can't ignore me versus they like me. Doesn't matter how good I am. They like me. And they like me so much, they got involved. They like me so much, they're like, what are you working on? I didn't have to tell them what I was working on.
They went out of their way to be like, hey,
they'll always
what
do
do
it.
you do?
If you give your time and effort to a friendship to build and cultivate that relationship with them, not with them to build it with you to build them, your marketing brand will be increased because they will, every time, I guarantee, once they like you, say, what are you working on? Or what do you do? And your job is not to linger on it. It's to say, oh, I'm a producer, but I love that you're working on blank, blank, blank. Because the more you give to them, the more they want to give to you. And the less you give them by being vague but informative. Exactly. Hey, I was on camera. Goodbye. See you later.
Nice to meet you.
Take care. What was I saying? I lost track.
Going back to this one.
They will ask you. So if
it's like hors d'oeuvres at a party, you don't want to give anything right away. You're like, oh, what's this? What's
yeah,
this?
what is the intrigue? Because their interest in you, the blacklist. Okay? The reason The Blacklist is such a great show, there's many elements. The character, you're finding yourself more interested in what the deal is with this character. Even though they're answering things, they're telling you things about the character, but then you're just like, I just have more questions and I gotta watch next week. And that's the thing with you and your brand. You should be presenting your brand vaguely but informatively. And what that means is, if you're working on, let's say you have a premiere coming up, okay, for actors. Let's just say for actors. And I'll do an example for everybody. So if you're an actor and you have a premiere of your movie coming up, you should be talking about your emotional excitement for that premiere coming up without saying what it's for. You know, for example, you might say, well, showered and dressed, I'm a little nervous for the big premiere tonight for a movie I worked on. That's vague but informative. It's for a premiere, it's for a movie you worked on, but what is it? Yeah, and the emotional journey is you're nervous.
As you so often tell me.
I tell you everything. So now people will ask questions if they're emotionally interested. And if they ask questions, that means they are literally interested. So that means they're listening to you. They go, oh, you worked on a movie? What movie? And then you tell them, you just say the movie. Oh, I worked on this movie. And you say whatever the name is. Right? And then they go, oh, when did you work on it? When's the premiere? And then you're like, oh, it's tonight. And even though they're missing it, now you've created FOMO. So
fear of missing out.
The fear of missing out. So now they're going to be like, well, I want to be at the next premiere you do, so I'm going to pay attention to you. Not that happens right away, but that's what brand awareness to interest to sales is.
And that's giving them little bits and having them slowly.
That's right.
Let me emotionally invest into whatever this is.
That's right, because every choice, every emotional choice, from them choosing to go to your website, to them choosing to ask a question, to them choosing to buy something is an emotional choice. And therefore, they're ultimately growing a relationship with your brand. Now, marketing is different than networking, whereas networking is it's all about who you know, and marketing is who knows you. So that's why when you're building and cultivating relationships, it's about you building a relationship with them, not them building a relationship with you. That's why you give them your time. Whereas marketing, your value of that time and what your message is, what you stand for, your ideals, your morals, how you do things, why you do things, and physically doing the things you believe in. So if you believe in raising awareness for mental health, get involved with the mental health community. That's truth through action, right? So all these things make people go, oh, I can relate to a lot they're doing. And that's the marketing, that's them knowing you. And therefore, those two things make a good relationship. Now, what is practice? Because 3 means of success is network market practice. Practice is knowing yourself. Understanding what's, and I can use this strength to my advantage.
It's building your skill set is what practice.
Yeah, but your skill set is also understanding how does a contract work so I can own at least a portion of my masters? Or if I sign this deal to be in a commercial, when, how many months is that commercial and what do I get? Do I get a full pay after the commercial? And that's the other thing. If you're not in a union, you don't get that stuff.
You don't get no residuals.
You don't get residuals.
Residuals definitely are nice.
Residuals. I had a friend, she worked for like maybe 5 or 6 hours on a shoe commercial, like for a shoe. And I think it was actually a running commercial. Maybe it had
got a commercial for 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah. And they ended up cutting her out except for like her foot landing in the frame, and that was it. But it was like a split second. And she got like 30 grand for it or something like that.
What?
Right? And then the contract ran out, and then they aired it once, and she got like another 30 grand. That's what union does.
I feel like I should join the union.
Scott.
I mean, like for.
Oh, for acting? Do you have 3 grand?
I mean.
Now, why do they do that? Why do they charge you to get in there? There's a couple reasons why. But why do you think that unions charge you a fee? Because the Writers Guild, they do the same. They charge you a fee.
I assume that the fee / the dues that you're paying go to help running the organization to make everyone paying together helps to fund the fact that you have these people who devote their entire time just making sure that everyone is taken care of.
Correct. But also, they want professionals. Yes, you're eligible, but can you afford it? No. Why not? How long have you been working in acting for? Well, 5 to 7 years. Oh, and you don't have $3,000 saved up. Professionals, what you do is not your job. Your job, I say it all the time, is the network market practice. Your job is to manage your time, money, and the people in your life. That money aspect
You
is
gotta have a strong triangle.
you have to have an amazing triangle. Even when you're not making this is the other thing. I can't budget. I don't make enough money. Budgeting has nothing to do with money. Budgeting has to do with spending. If you have no money, your budget needs work because you have to budget within what you earn. You don't budget based on how much you earn. You base it on within what you earn. So you have to say to yourself, I only get for $2,500 a month. That means I can't be spending $3,000. And you should be and if you're like, well, I don't want to live that way. Well, now you're not talking about a living. You're talking about a lifestyle. And when you're trying to be successful, there's sacrifices, which, by the way, if we bring up Metallica, lived together without real furniture. Their beds were on the floors, and they had cockroaches.
Cockroaches?
Cockroaches! Cockroaches! And the point is they sacrifice, because if you sacrifice now, you'll afford later. And what you got to do with your budget to create a foundation is know what you need to spend, not what you want to spend on. And eventually, you'll start earning money. Your money will be over your average monthly overhead, and you'll be able to organize that money to grow wealth into security, growth, and dream. And you'll start developing a foundation of basically movement, money movement. And all these things give you the power to say yes or no in life, control. Control comes from management of time, money, people. So those things don't control you, you control that, right? So when people say, I don't have the $3,000, you're like, well, why haven't you managed? I didn't make enough money. Well, how much is your iPhone? $1,000. Oh, did you buy that car? No, I'm leasing it. How much is the lease? $400 a month,
Jesus.
plus insurance. Oh, great. Do you need the car? How often do you use the car?
You live in Brooklyn?
You live in yeah. Why do you need a car? Right? Oh, nice shoes. How much are those shoes? Oh, these are the brand new Nikes. Yeah, $500. Oh, why'd you get those? Why I needed them. You needed those. You can get.
For the record, while we're on the topic of shoes, I don't think I've ever spent more than $50 on a pair of shoes.
You know what? New Balance though, they got some for $150. You get a really good solid shoe. But $150 isn't $500, $300. But that's the thing. It's like you have to say to yourself, what do I need so I can? Because you can't grow your career unless you can afford it. If you owned a donut shop and you were spending more money than it cost you to run that place, just so you could have the best TVs and the best, you hire Def Leppard to come in.
In your donut shop?
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. But that's the point. Why would you have Def Leppard? Just because, well, they're there. They're a draw. It's the same mentality. If I buy the most expensive suit, I will look good. But that doesn't necessarily help you when you're growing your career. So you have to think in terms of management of that money. Because when the time comes for you to join a union, the Writers Guild, the Directors Guild, the Producers Guild, ASCAP, BMI, SAG-AFTRA, any union, I can't remember the initials, but the union for basically PAs and stuff like that, the union for camera people, any union to help you make more money and protect you, if you can't afford that and you've been in the business for more than 5 years, you need to recalibrate your business because your donut shop is failing. You as an actor, comedian, writer, anything, own a business. And if you're not affording the right for your business to grow financially, you're spending way more than your overhead is allowing.
I think going back to the idea of budgeting and just being aware of what you're spending, Jamie Foxx, actually, I was watching an interview with Jamie Foxx and he had a story where he was talking about when he was coming up within the world of music, when he was trying to make the transition from just acting to get into music. He had a really strong reputation for throwing amazing parties, and I think he was saying.
Wait, who? Jamie Foxx? Oh, this is the one with Sean Puffy Combs.
It was P. Diddy. It was just I want me to throw a party, and he's like, yeah, sure, I got you. And he basically did this giant, crazy, extravagant party that would have cost tens of thousands of dollars. That he did it himself, and I think he said that Jamie Foxx did the entire thing on maybe $500. Yeah, this is a giant house party, and P. Diddy's that's it.
Well, that's because P. Diddy was spending crazy amount, and Jamie Foxx I could do this for nothing.
Yeah,
and he's like,
what? He said he only spent $500. Because it was
Yeah, he's like, I bought Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
He's like, I bought Kentucky Fried
Put
Chicken.
it on a nice little platter. We're good.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah, I know that. He was telling that story on Kimmel.
Oh, you dropped something.
I know my home now. Yeah, no, that was Jimmy Kimmel. He was telling.
Oh yeah, it was Kimmel.
That's right. Yeah. No, see, I know these stories. I don't make this stuff up.
I think you did that.
So, but anyway, so what do you I want before we end the show, I want to ask you a question.
Please ask.
How big is your so? I like cucumbers, so thank you, Shane. No. Before you and I met, because clearly I've definitely reorganized your brain to think more business. Well, still.
Luckily, my brain's made of Legos, so you can just.
Yeah, I just move it around.
Yeah.
Though they keep falling off, because every morning I'm like, "What are you doing?" You don't sit in the putty.
Listen, I'm a restless sleeper, and things move around.
He is a restless sleeper, but not with me. That's but not that there's anything wrong with it. So that's a Seinfeld reference. Anyway, my question to you: before you knew me, right? Did you have this belief that you had to be so good?
100%.
That now.
You didn't even have to finish that. I 100% had that. And I've talked to you about this a couple times in private, where it's like, I always felt this pressure where like I always had to write, quote unquote, the perfect song or like the perfect album. Like, there was a lot of pressure I put on myself to just be good so that whatever my art was would be accepted, and that was what was going to bring me success. When I met you and you started teaching me, you took me under your wing, I realized, when I started implementing all of your teachings in the real world, that like, it's my art, my music literally has zero to do with whether or not I reach success or not. I felt like I was more easily able to basically split everything, and I felt less stressed in like the artistic area, where it's like, I can literally just write music that I want to write because this is what makes me happy, not because, I feel like this is what's going to bring me success. I just have to run my life like a business, because I'm a private contractor. I'm a small business. And that gives me the freedom to literally do whatever I want for my own artistic integrity. Yeah,
because you're not writing music for other people's opinions. You're not saying, half my audience likes red. And
I'm writing music. When I'm writing, it's like for Angels on the Battlefield, I write music that I personally want to hear.
Yeah, clearly.
It's good. I'll go to you and I'll be like, as a friend, like, what's your opinion?
I love it.
Yeah. Sometimes. Obviously, you and I have different artistic preferences.
Yeah, I'm a composer, you're a writer. There's two differences.
Yeah, no, and
I like stories in my music. You like this part.
You gotta have cool parts.
Why does that go 8 times, JD? I like playing. Yeah, but it changes up. How? Well, the first 4 is really.
Listen,
and then the next 4 I whittle.
Exactly.
Well, the dog messed up the camera.
Oh no.
1 second.
Yeah, but going back to my point, it's the fact that like I used to take people's criticism of the music a lot more seriously, and there was no need for me to do so. And I felt once I started listening to your teachings and making the distinction between business brain and artist brain, I got more done within 6 months to a year of following you than 5 to 7 years of doing it the other way. I literally was not doing anything.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one in my world.
But like at the same time, like I literally was like, I'm just gonna write this. Like, Angels on the Battlefield is instrumental. I can't tell you how many times people are like, you should write, you should have like a singer on there. I'm like, I'm not a singer.
You just need voicings.
I agree with you with that. But like I connect with music through guitar because that's what just speaks to me as.
Well, you have autism, right?
Potentially.
I feel the vibrations.
No, that's how I connect to music is through guitar. And I've tried so many times over the years to write lyrics, I've tried to sing and like.
But you can sing. You can't write lyrics, but you definitely can sing. There's potential in there.
Roses are red, violets are blue.
I like fish. What about you?
It's a hit.
That's crazy.
Oh,
why did you talk about fish?
Grammy,
I like scales.
Well,
Now, let me jumping off of that topic. So your brain was slowly learning that, like, and you were seeing other people just focusing on the music. How frustrating was it as you started seeing behind the curtain?
I was more frustrated with myself for taking so long to realize. I was frustrated with myself for being so adamantly against your teachings right off the bat, and I'm like, wow, I was being a dick.
Yes.
But it's not easy to, as an artist, it's not easy, I don't think, to make that switch if you are doing it for so long. I think if you learn earlier on, it's a lot easier because you're still, your brain's malleable, it's still made of pudding. But like, if you're doing it for so long, I was doing it for, the better part of like half a decade.
Yeah, I know.
And like, it definitely took a while for me to go, okay, I need to do it, the way it really needs to be done, the way you were teaching me. And I just really, really, really wanted to make music my career. And I was like, heck with it, I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, but your education was what you knew, which was nothing. And you just built like mountains of effort on what you didn't know.
My education was based off of people who were doing the same thing, who were like, oh, this is how you do it. And like, I didn't really have a lot of people in my circle, in my life, that actually were
in the business,
in the industry.
Yeah, playing a show every 3 months and like you have a survival job that is not in the industry, you're not in the industry.
Even if there was points where we're playing, every weekend, or if not multiple times a weekend.
Yeah.
And like the playing shows in like your local bars, like in your local town, it doesn't amount to anything. It's just hard.
It does if you're a hobby. Like if
you're doing it, literally physically cut off from it is an island.
Yeah, you can't be there and expect except for James.
Don't forget Billy Joel.
Billy Joel. My brother dated a girl whose mother dated. I was how frustrated with you with seeing other people in where you were doing, and you knew behind the curtain, and you're like, well, you gotta just change this up. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, when I came to you, it was near the end of my time with the last band I was in, with other people. I was in a band called Psychosis. And we've been doing it for so long, but everyone's kind of like getting frustrated. Like our drummer was just about ready to quit when I met you, and he ended up quitting. And we for the people who aren't aware, we'd all, like the entire band basically had gone to meet you, and like everyone was apprehensive, and I was the only one that was like, maybe we should listen to him, because we literally had been doing this for years and nothing was happening. But like the band basically broke up shortly after that, and I still wanted to do stuff. So being that, I met you at that time, I'm like, all right, let me study, let me learn while I'm in this quote unquote transition.
Yeah, and I didn't bust your hump or anything. Like when you came back, I wasn't like, you'd come back. I was
the hump busting came when we were like friends.
Yeah. Exactly. I think once I started really mentoring you, that's when the hump busting started. Because in my mind, I'm like, I want to see you succeed, and you're just being an idiot.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm literally telling you to do this, and you still do artist things. And when I say artist things, I don't mean creative. I mean like,
Lego brand.
Yeah, Lego brand. I'm like, why are you telling everyone to watch your music video? Oh, because I want people to see it. Okay, and tell them about you then. Because if people like you, then they want to support you. Because people want to see you succeed, but they don't want to hear about it.
Speaking from the artist perspective, since that's the issue that I basically can fly back into. I think a lot of artists feel uncomfortable making themselves the focal point because
they want validation. They don't care about the focal point. But then why are you on stage? Get off stage.
Because they want validation.
Why don't you be just like Jim Morrison,
where
he played hide it?
But that's the thing. They want the validation through the art. They don't want to
Exactly. They want their art to be validated.
Yeah, but that's different because the focal point in the mind of the artist is the music and not that.
Yeah, but their music is a part of that brand.
I
people don't care about it.
I understand. But I'm saying from the artist perspective, that's probably, speaking personally, that's what the issue is.
Yeah, they want their art validated. But the thing is,
they feel uncomfortable being like, oh, I'm the focal point, as opposed to the music.
I look at artists like this. If you invent if you invent the greatest item in the world, like if somebody saw it, just like, oh my god, I need that. But you kept it like in the closet, all right? And then you yourself refuse to talk to anyone, and you're like, but it's so good that when people see it, they'll love it.
I agree with this analogy, and I agree with your lesson.
Wait, I'm not done yet.
Oh.
And then you meet somebody and you go, you know what? Why don't you come back to my house? I have this thing in the closet. It's the most amazing thing in the world. I know you're a stranger, but trust me, come see it. The stranger can be like, have a nice day. Now, if you went to your parents, hey, I got this thing I invented, they're going to go look at it. Even if they think it's terrible, they're going to be like, this is the most amazing thing, great job. Then you have your friends who will go look at it. There's no effort in getting people, but now, let's say you make the most amazing item, right? And then you go to your friends and your family, and then they're a little apprehensive, but they go. By the time you make a third or fourth amazing thing, they're going to just be like, I'm busy. Because you don't get people who are related to you to buy into your brand. They already love you. But your fans, the 10,000 true fans, is all about you building a brand relationship so they're interested in what you have to offer. And if the only thing you have to offer is, hey, why don't you come into my house?
My windowless van.
I'm going to show you. just jump into my windowless van. I'm going to show you something special. It's amazing. You'll never get it. And that's the same thing going, hey, check out my song or check out my podcast. Like this, we're not going to go around and be like, you should listen to my podcast. No, the podcast is on BBR Productions. We continue to talk about us filming it. We do the behind the scenes. You know, we have things we do, but we're not actively saying, please, please, please. We're letting people see our journey, just like they should see your journey, et cetera, to a point where they're emotionally interested. What's up, baby?
Oh.
The puppy. He's doing
it.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I'm my dog.
Hey, I'm on TV.
Anyway, I don't make this stuff up, is all I'm saying.
And I agree.
All right. So, yeah, that's it. And that's it for the show. I guess you should BBR Productions. JD, if you want to see JD anywhere, just open your eyes.
Oh, my God.
Hey, he's in the closet.
When did that get there?
Now, you can check him out on onthewingsofdragons.com.
And if you want to check out the Thomas, he's on the Make a Right Left Here.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
If you want to check out Imperial, also go to Make a Right Left
Imperial is on Tom's product reviews.
He is on Tom's product reviews.com.
He's also on Imperial, I think it's just Imperial Bellezza now. But he used to be Imperial of the House of Bellezza on Instagram.
I keep forgetting that he has an Instagram.
He does. He has the cutest Instagram.
I still say we should make an OnlyFans for him, but like it's all him.
It's all hats.
Yes.
I would do that. Check out our OnlyFans now. But yeah, so BBR Productions, you know, you can see what we're going to be doing. Obviously, all the episodes are on there. You can listen to every episode. But we're also on Spotify. But the idea is I'm not going to tell you how to get to Spotify to find us.
Just go to
BBR Productions and boom.
Yeah. There's also a hidden door in your beard that people, you know, very rarely know about.
Look at me. Jesus. I'm like the most attractive, ugly person I know. All people are beautiful, especially if you're blind. You know, I said that to somebody once. I was like, if you were blind, how beautiful would people be? And it's like you would actually have to listen to people's truths to find them beautiful. Imagine that. Though Ray Charles is infamous for finding out if someone is beautiful by touching their wrists.
Really?
Yeah. You can read in his books. He would shake a girl's hand and then touch their wrist, and if it was like kind of like. If it wasn't firm or if it was too skinny, he was like, they're not attractive, which is a weird thing.
That's a really weird.
Because he's not an attractive man, but he's had more kids with more women than should be possible. And it just goes to show money goes a long way. I could say, if you ask me about anybody before 2000, I could probably tell you a great deal about their struggles, their story, their success. So, but anyway,
you study success.
I studied. That's how I got successful. Mentors would tell me things. I would ignore them because I'm the most greatest, amazing, and awesome artist in my head, and I was getting nowhere. But I knew if I just keep making music and playing shows at dead end clubs, I would be successful. And then one day it just clicked that my mentors were geniuses, and I was like, oh, maybe I should. But what I did was I took very important advice from them, which was anything I tell you, don't believe me until you research it. because you should always have, even with social media, like if someone posts something and you're like, oh, that must be true. Like research it. You
At least go to Google.
You need 3 sources to have any information valuable to assimilate it into your vernacular. But like basically everything they taught me, I just started researching it, and I have OCD. So what I did was I
stayed up for an entire weekend.
Yeah, basically. I'm a musician, so I started studying how musicians made, and that's how I learned about Metallica, Poison, Motley Crue, like all these bands. Alice Cooper, everybody. Black Sabbath. I can tell you so much about Black Sabbath. But anyway, so I started learning it, and then my brain was like, I wonder how actors did it. And then I studied actors, and then I was like, I wonder how writers. Yeah, I was like, it's exactly the same. The variables change, but the tools were the same. So then I looked at like writers, and then I looked at businesses. That was when everything really clicked.
You're like, oh.
Because every successful business story was the same thing as these other people. So I started writing down what they were doing, and eventually I came up with the triangle, which simplified it. Because obviously it's complicated to sit here and go, they did this, 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 and this specifically. But if you break down the triangle, I guess before we go, I'm always happy to say this. The triangle is ultimately 5 sides, and a triangle is the strongest shape in the world. And if you maintain the integrity of that strength, you're bound to be successful in life. And it's broken up into basically 5 different areas which you should focus your life, which is the first side is the 3 needs of success, which is success is basically making a living within your field of interest. A living is not a lifestyle, it's working within a budget. And those 3 needs are network, market, practice. And then the second side is the 3 needs of longevity. So longevity is taking your success to the next level. So to maintain longevity or growth in your successful career, you have to manage your time, money, and people. You have to use your entrepreneurial brain, and then you have to develop your talents, not just in your craft, but basically how the business runs, your field of interest. I also study the field that I'm in, and then basically the fields that are attached to that industry. So like not necessarily how to be a lawyer, but like how contracts work. Maybe not. Maybe how the record back in the day, how record stores work and stuff like that. The third side, distribution, right? So side 3 is the 3 needs of purpose. Basically, this fuels your purpose. This is all about wealth growth and money organizing, and that's your 3 sides of longevity. Of your 3 needs of purpose are security, growth, and dream. Basically, that protects you. It helps you invest into you, and then you can reward yourself. Side 4 are the 8 assets of life. So assets earn you wealth. Liabilities cost you time and money. And assets are basically stocks, bonds, mutual funds, intellectual properties. And then, of course, you have real estate, businesses, IOUs, which is IO onto, and then commodities. And then finally, the last side, side 5, which is it's the back side of a triangle, which is rarely seen, is treat your life like a business. Now, how do you do that? You treat your life like a business by literally doing the sides, maintaining integrity in all those sides. So if you're just practicing, relying on your talent, and rewarding yourself with the dream of becoming successful, your triangle is failing. It's breaking. It's not. The validity of it is not there. You have to do a little of everything. Sometimes you can do more networking than, like, say, practice or marketing or something.
Yeah, you have to do it as it needs at that time. But
you
have to maintain.
But you have to maintain
homeostasis for the entire.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this show right now, and you're saying, well, how do I know? Like, if you ever said to yourself, I need to be further, or why am I not further, or I've been doing this for more than 5 years, I should be successful. What is not going on? Literally say to yourself, what am I not doing in the triangle, and what am I doing? And then just even it out. And it goes back to earlier. It's like, well, I don't have money to invest. Well, that's why money management is important, because if you can't afford to invest in yourself that $3,000 to join a union, it's because you weren't money management, which means your triangle of life is off kilter. It's off balance. So that's all you have to do. Not all you have to do, but you have to recalibrate your triangle every once in a while. And I do it still to this day.
Well, that's just a practice that you're going to have to do. Is you just have to make sure that you're constantly doing it. It's like you don't shower once in your life. You just have to shower when you need to shower.
Maybe you.
On that note.
No, I take baths every day by standing up.
It's very European.
Yeah, I don't pee, but so anyway. But so there you go.
We don't make this stuff up.
We don't make this stuff up. Anyway, this is JD McGibney. I'm Thomas J. Bellezza. Remember, don't work too hard.
But be protective.
That's right. All right, this is Don't Make This Up. We'll see you next Sunday. For the live. Bye. All right, that was it, man.
And click.
Clickety, click, click, click. All right. Now, the fun part about the live is if you have any questions, you can ask us. We'll answer your questions. We're going to be breaking down the studio. We're going to keep the live going. But if you have anything to say, any thoughts, opinions of what we just did, please. We're always here to listen.
Also, Aisha's watching.
Hey, she's watching. Oh, because the Instagram one, the live went to. Well, it gives you an hour on Instagram.
Perfect.
Look at Perry on.
Oh my god. Let's save that.
Let's save it. Yeah.
Oh god, my ears. What the hell? What the hell, man? What the hell, man? Alright, let's turn off the monitors. The minotaurs. Monitor off.
Monitor. Monitor.
Alright, that's me. Mike.
Damn this mic. Alright, let's see. This is done.
Alright, now monitor off. Monitor off. Boop.
It's got hot.
That was a good.
It's good. What was that, an hour and 10 minutes ago?
Hour 15.
Oh, that's not good.
Yes.
That's not too long. That's not too long.
I want to know what the hell that clicking was, though.
Yeah, me too.
I feel like every time it did it, and then I would touch the mic, and I would stop.
That's electrical interference. That's nice. Trust me. It's an electrical interference.
Maybe we have to move the cables?
I don't know. I do know that every time we heard it and I looked at the monitor, it said that the connection was going bad.
So I wonder if maybe it's the internet? Because the
maybe if we
Facebook
put
Live-
that on the other side, away from the computers,
that might be okay. But also the Facebook Live went out too. So I'm thinking we just had an issue with the internet in general at one point.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. It was
Oh wait, we got text. We
got some messages.
I don't have a question, but just wanted to say I really enjoy the show and the topics are always very interesting to listen to. Well, thank you so much, Leo. Glad you dug it. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to ask, jump in. Say
throw it on.
Yeah, we love answering questions.
Yeah, and if you really like the episode and you want to download it, BBR Productions, we put up a new episode every. So if we filmed a live on Thursday, we put the newest episode. Go right the BBR.
Also, feel free to rate snacks every time you're.
Oh please, yeah.
Watching
Speaking of, I'm definitely gonna have some of those donuts now.
Woohoo!
I need those donuts.
Thank you, Evie, for the donuts.
I love your donuts. Donuts. Giggity, giggity, goo. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, like the one I used to.
I gotta reach out to Alan.
Who?
Supposed to do a phone call with Alan.
Alan.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. That's hot.
It is.
That's hot. I gotta close this up.
No. Staying here or going over there?
Let's stay. Everybody. Yeah. Rock your body. Yeah. I sing once again with me a strange duet. I just learned how to sing Monday.
Me too.
Me too. What's that?
Thingy.
Oh, yeah.
Can I just unplug your?
No, not yet. It's still going.
All right, wait.
It's still going.
What am I doing?
What are you doing?
I'm going crazy. What I'm doing?
It's going crazy.
Let's go downstairs.
Please.
I just
See, this is the most important part of doing anything.
cleaning
When
up.
you're done, you clean it up, you put it all, touch it once. That saves me so much time to touch it once. If you do something or just get it done, just do it. Doesn't hurt to just do it. Just boom, done. Done. Life is so much easier when you take responsibility, you create proactive efforts. You're in control of your success if you choose to make moves. You gotta do it all.
Where are we keeping these guys?
Those, yeah, you just close them up, put them inside the thing. We're actually, don't even bother, because we're getting a new one still.
Oh yeah. Wait, they gotta come while we're filming.
Did they show up?
Let's see. Let's see if we can do an unboxing. One of those.
Oh, you wanna do unboxing? Are they going to do an unboxing?
Nope.
Nothing?
No.
How about that?
Wait, well, that's in the background.
Oh, we got some people. Look at that. Oh, and Brian Rocky's watching.
Woo!
Oh, he's gone now. Thank you again, Leo. We really appreciate the feedback. It's we love the feedback because we still need validation. we're artists. We're artists.
Artistes.
Artists. We've had 2 viewers this whole time. I'm pretty excited about it. Oh, we had 3 at one point.
That's cool.
Hey, everyone, you get to watch me close this out. Thank you very much.
Have a wonderful day, everybody.
We love you. See you next Sunday, man. All right. And
All right.
the stream.
Leo, have a wonderful day.
Oh, thank you so much for staying by and interacting and your feedback. We love you.
Here it goes. This is video.